Apple has built $1 trillion business using the principles of simple and elegant design. And while they're known for selling expensive tech products, in this video I'm going to redesign Apple to sell literal apples and see if this modern design works for fruit. Jumping in, I know I want the above the fold to have a big logo and a tagline. However, I want a logo that's a bit more fruity and playful than what Apple currently has, so I'll spend a brief minute redesigning it. I'll start off by drawing half an apple, duplicating it, and then coloring it red. Not the color red that CryptoZoo victims see when they hear the name Logan Paul, more of a pastel red. I'll continue building out the basic apple structure by adding a stem and a leaf. Still using those plain pastel colors that Apple is so fond of. I'll add a curved line here to better show the leaf shape before moving on to shading. I am trying to give the whole logo an approachable and energetic feel, so I'll try to stick with basic shapes and simple colors. Add a little reflective lighting up top before adding that swoosh cutout to the top, which helps give it that futuristic feel that I think Apple would still want to retain, even if they sold apples. Now I'll add that iconic bite cutout and fill it in with that delicious apple pulp. I'll finish it off with some shading for the core, and that should do it. With that out of the way, I'll move on to the landing page. I'll start by creating a plain white background. I'll use the new logo for the menu and the banner image. Apple loves simplicity and white space, so I'll try to convey that right off the bat. I'll create a nav bar with some of their products like the Macintosh, iDelicious, and Orchard, a subscription service that I'll get to later in the video. I picked a fruity, fun font that we can use for headings throughout the website. Let's start with the tagline. How about choose healthy? I think that's a good alternative to think different. The last thing I'll do here is replace the shopping bag icon with an apple basket. Alright, moving on to the next section, I want to feature their flagship product, the iDelicious. And of course the Pro. A product so red and so delicious that nothing else comes close. And I'll highlight that fact by making the text itself red. Surprisingly enough, Apple doesn't put a lot of buy now buttons on their homepage. It's more explore or learn more. So we'll add a couple explore buttons for the Pro and the regular iDelicious, using that same bright green from the Apple leaf. I spent a couple hours trying to recreate that stacked iPhone look but with apples, but I just wasn't a fan of it, so I decided let's take this in a different direction. I'll just use two separate apples, one red for the Pro, since Apple is really trying to push the Pro devices, and green for the non-Pro. I think this second design came out much better. Now let's get to some accessories that you need for this device, or Apple. I'll start by creating a couple cards to put the accessories in, giving them a nice radius and a drop shadow. I found this photo of a bare bones apple peeler online that I'll add Apple branding to, and then put it in a classic one of every color image that Apple is so fond of. I'll call it the eye peel, and we'll give it some cheesy tagline. I know these taglines seem super corny, but this is legitimately what Apple does on their website. I'll finish this card off with a couple of call to action links. The next essential product is an Apple core that I'll call the eye core. Apple likes to ensure all their products pop off the page with a drop shadow, so you'll see me do that throughout this design. The last card here is for any additional accessories. I added an automatic peeler and an apple juicer. I tried to match the bright colors and aesthetic of the original Macintosh with the automatic apple peeler on the left, which took an embarrassing amount of time. And that finishes up the iDelicious accessories section. Let's move on to the entire Apple lineup. After creating a title, I'll change the background color to white to really separate this from the iDelicious sections above. It seems Apple loves to use comparison tables to show the differences between their products, so I'll use one of those. But I'm going to use this card to visually separate the iDelicious section from the Macintosh section. I'll start by creating all the content for the iDelicious Pro and then fill it in for everything else. I'll add a title and description, along with the price and purchase links. I'll add in this line for visual separation between the price and specifications, and then add the rest of the specifications below. Fill in the rest of the products, and there you have it, the entire Apple lineup. This next section is to convince any potential buyers to use Apple versus any competitors. To do this, I'm going to create a carousel of cards as supporting evidence. It seems to be a design trend that Apple has implemented lately. All I need for this is a reason, some compelling claims, and beautiful imagery all wrapped up into one card. Then I add a couple more cards that flow off the page, with some navigation arrows to access any hidden cards. And just like that, you're convinced to buy apples from Apple. We know Apple is no longer content just selling us the product. That brings us perfectly to our final section, Apple's services. I think it'll work well to use that same card layout as the iDelicious Essentials section. I'll add 3 different services here. Apple Trade-In, to trade in old apples for new ones, Apple Bushel, to order apples in bulk, and Apple Orchard, the subscription service linked in the nav bar that allows you to subscribe and receive fruit shipments on a regular basis. And that will conclude the Apple Services section. All that remains is the footer, so I'll copy and paste that from Apple, and there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more in the future.